Welcome, listeners, to a very special episode of my Big Fat Pull List. Today, we are talking with a man who I believe has touched each of us in his own special way. Not necessarily the bad way, the good way.
No, we're not
No,
pressing
we're not pressing
charges.
charges. This is a good thing. Having worked on IDW's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Back to the Future, Godzilla, Transformers Beast Wars, and, of course, Ghostbusters. He's also worked with Marvel on a Scarlet Spider run. So today, we have the privilege of talking with Mr. Erik Burnham. And we could not be more excited. And because of this special occasion, we have a full house. I am here, Dr. Impact, and sound off, guys. We've got everybody here today.
I'm Smurfy.
Dragonus Prime.
Mr. X.
Pistol Danger.
And for those of you who are listening to this episode on the podcast, as you know, we do our interviews, both video and audio. So if you are not watching this, head on over to YouTube and see the full episode there. And if you're only watching this on YouTube, head on over to our podcast and check out the episode there, because there will be some slight differences between the two. There will be stuff that you get only in the audio and stuff that you only get in the video, so you will want to check out both. Well, guys, normally we take a little bit of time to do some babbling and some catch up, but this is too special of an episode. Let's just jump right into it. So without any further ado, let's find out just how bustin' makes him feel.
We are joined by our special guest, Erik Burnham, and we have the pleasure of picking his brain for as long as he'll let us. We can't
Erik, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Well, thanks for having me.
So, right out the gate, I have to ask, what were some of your first experiences with comic books? Like, what enamored you to the art of comic books?
I mean, it's funny. I was talking about one of these stories just the other day, and for a sad reason. But I mean, they were always around growing up. When I was around, this is the sad reason. You guys saw the news about George Perez.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I had wanted to meet him for years at the convention. It just never came up, and I wanted to meet him and tell him this story, which I've told many times before, just not to him. When I was around 4-ish years old, there was a house fire. We lost everything. Staying with my grandparents, my grandpa gave me one of his comics, that he passed out to the grandkids when they came to visit. And so that was my first possession after losing everything. And that was Avengers Annual number 6, which George drew. And I mean, just I'd liked comics. My mom remembers me telling her when I was even younger than that I wanted to either be a magician or make comics, and my hands are too small for manipulation. So it was on to comics. I mean, just getting that Avengers Annual just sunk it in. It meant a lot to me being the first thing. And of course it was, etched into my memory, and that just, comics became even more special than they were. And I grew towards them instead of away from them as I got older. That's really why.
So have you since had the chance to meet with George? Have you since had the opportunity to tell him this?
No, I never have. I wound up, I mean, after I saw the news, it's just, I just wound up posting it on his Facebook page. Because, I mean, who knows if there's going to be a chance for paths to cross, which, super unfortunate. But, at least, I mean, if he sees the message, fine. If not, then, I mean, I put it out there, but I mean, he's got other things that focus on, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So just enjoying the rest of his time would be more important to me than him seeing that message.
Well, we hope he sees it, and we hope he reaches out to you, and you get to actually tell him in person.
I mean, the thanks. I mean, I put the thanks on there, so I mean, just I mean, him seeing it would be enough. I'll take that. I'll I'll leave it in the back of my head, my head canon, that he has seen it at some point and just
Okay.
had so many to get through that he couldn't get back. That's fine.
What would you hope? You get like a thumbs up or the little heart emoji?
Yeah, the little, the thumbs up. I'll take a like, sure.
Okay.
They haven't made a hug emoji for him, so yeah.
All right. Wow. I'm sure they're working on it. They're
Yeah,
on the up and up there on Facebook or whatever.
that's true. Yeah,
Bunch of innovators over there.
that's right.
Right.
So would you say that comic books is the whole reason why you became a writer? That and the fact that you have small hands?
Yeah. That's it. It says too small to do the coin tricks and the card tricks. It's just a bummer. But no, I mean, I like drawing. I like writing, and it's something that you can. I mean, I've written prose stories. I've written plays and screenplays and such like that. But comics gives you the benefits, some of the benefits of movies, which I also love. But I mean, you can get it all done yourself. You don't have to rely on anybody else to put together the final product and a budget. I mean, yeah.
Your budget is unlimited because it's a comic.
Yeah,
book. Well, your imagination is.
You've seen the comic where the writer is about to stab the artist when he says, "Yes, I can do that. The budget's unlimited." It's time. Time is the budget with comics. But
yes.
and I've run into that. I've run into the running out of the time budget many times. But no, it's just I can do visual stories in comics that I at this point I can't do movies or TV where I'm at, what I'm doing. So I focus on comics, which is easy from the middle of nowhere. It's just a thing. I like it.
Sure.
If you could transition over to something, what would be your ideal project to do? Like,
what's that? I'm sorry.
If you could transition over, I apologize.
Oh yeah. No, just a little. Yeah, it's poor internet out here. If I was I mean, I'm not picky. Just I look at it the same way I look at the licensed comic stuff. Is would it be fun for me in some way? And or alternatively, does it pay a lot? So those are the two primary considerations. So we'll look at if anything goes. I mean, a couple of things almost came up, with offers to do things, and then they just they fizzled, as they sometimes do. So maybe they'll almost come up again. Who knows?
Yeah, we know all of.
Mhm.
Yeah, we know all about that. We're all of us in various ways are involved in some sort of storytelling method, whether it's writing or drawing or filmmaking or whatever. And yeah, I think every one of us has at some point or time experienced that almost got it kind of moment.
Yep.
So close.
Yes.
It's always frustrating. The closer you get, the more frustrating it is, and so I've been frustrated a few times. But what are you gonna do? So
just keep working at it, I guess, is the best we can do.
Yeah.
Learn from it. Best you can.
But so I often wonder this about people like who write comic books. Like, is this something you went to school specifically like for writing, and it just translated well into the comics, or is this just something you're naturally good at?
That's something I gravitated towards. I always gravitated towards writing sometimes, whether it be comic strips or the prose stories or what have you, plays I wrote in high school. It's just something I did for fun, and it's just the fun became hobby, became practice, became improvement, became eventually I got to a point where I was coming off a career in radio, and I was laid off, and I had about a year and a half where I didn't have anything to do, so I got to know people on internet message boards because I was there, so I was just chatting comics with the people online, and a group of us became friends, and way back on the days of the instant messenger, the AOL instant messenger, we were having a group chat and complaining about comics, saying these suck. They were so much better before. We could do better than this. And it just became one of those things where somebody said, well, can we put our money where our mouth is? If we can do better than this, why don't we try? And I mean, that kind of sucked me into making a comic. The first comic I did was an 8-page story. and then that led to a few more, and that led to a small press company, and that led to me meeting Tom Waltz, and then Tom Waltz went to IDW, and he offered me the chance to pitch some stuff, and it just, it just kept snowball, incremental steps in the right direction, just dumb luck more than anything.
Are
That's cool.
there?
God bless dumb luck.
Yeah, you gotta. Yeah. Are there, any writers that you constantly go back and reference to? I always hear various filmmakers who go back and watch specific directors' work over and over again when they're prepping for a project, and I hear that sometimes about artists and writers when they're getting ready to start some new miniseries or series or whatever. Are there particular creators and storytellers that you tend to gravitate towards and revisit before you're getting ready on something?
I don't do a whole lot of revisiting unless it's something where I need to know what was created to work on the project I'm on.
Hmm.
Excuse me. So when I was going to pick up and co-write a book, I'd go back and read everything that the other writer has done to try and match their voice as best I can. Um, Most of the projects I've done have been licensed projects, so instead of looking up, boy, excuse me, I got the hiccups from the tea. Other Instead of looking up other writers and their stories, I'll get the plot points, but I will look up um, movies. I'll try to get voices more down in my head. So I'll watch TV and movies to get the voices of the actors or the characters a little better. I've done that, G.I. Joe, Transformers, and not so much Ninja Turtles, but a little bit, because I mean they've had several iterations. But I mean, and then Ghostbusters. Well, I've watched so many of those movies with those actors growing up. Those are already in my head. But I do that to try to just to get the tone right for the voice. So and if they're characters that I've never that haven't had a voice, I'll try to find one for them. So that's what I do instead. I mean, I try to keep things consistent. So I do read stuff, but I don't think of, I mean, if I'm going to write book X, I don't think about reading just any writer. That doesn't mean I don't. It just means I can't think of it off the top of my head.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
So it's interesting you say that you hear the voices in your head, because when I'm reading comics, I will often assign voices to that I have from
Mhm.
whether they came from, like, the 90s X-Men when I'm reading X-Men, or the MCU when I'm reading, Spiderman and my Avengers books. How do you, this is going to be weird for say, how do you hear Harold Ramis? You know what I mean? When you're writing Egon, like, how do you hear Bill Murray? Like, do you just hear what you heard in there, or do you take, like, Caddyshack, Stripes, like
Well,
that?
yeah. I mean, just think of all the things where you've seen Dan Aykroyd, Harold Ramis, Bill Murray, Ernie Hudson over the years, not just the movies they've been in, but interviews or um, pieces like panels at conventions with Ernie and Dan, or any number of things, or just the words chosen in things that they've written also speaks to their voice. Um, you build enough of this stuff together, and it just sets as to what sounds right for the cadence that they would use. And I think I get it right more often than not, because people catch it in the writing. And yeah, no, it's just a mix of everything that I've seen and heard them do. It's they were ubiquitous in the 80s and early 90s. So there's plenty of material out there, and I've seen, gosh, a lot of it. So it's all up there. It's filed away. It's my one talent is an ear for voices. As far as writing goes, it's the strongest thing that I can do is an ear for voices, not just celebrity voices, but in general, the cadence and stuff. I try not to do too much of the written patois, Chris Claremontisms, but I do pay attention to how words flow together, and hear it in my head, and try to write that out. And sometimes the readers pick up on it, and sometimes they don't. But it makes me happy to get it right for myself. So
No, that makes perfect sense. How were you first introduced to this crew of actors from the 80s? Was it through Ghostbusters, or was it through some of their other works?
Oh boy. Um, I honestly, I don't remember what I saw them first in. I know it wasn't Ghostbusters because I recognized their faces when I did see Ghostbusters.
Okay.
Um, and I mean, it could have been anything. It could have been seeing reruns of Saturday Night Live, taped, and not reruns, taped Saturday Night Lives that my parents or friends would have had around, or relatives. Um, it could have been just something that was on TV that they'd been in. A movie. It's the Sunday, the movie of the week. Here's the Blues Brothers, or here's whatever. So yeah, I wish I could remember specifically where I saw any of them first. I do remember where I saw Ghostbusters first, and that is not too long after it just came out on video. We were over visiting my dad's aunt. We were living in Washington at the time, and it was in the middle of the movie. So I sat down and watched the rest of it. They were still talking when the movie ended, so I rewound and watched the beginning of it to get back to the point where it was. I think I came in around the point where Peter was investigating Dana's apartment. So from there to the end, and then back to the beginning, and so it was that was where I saw, just waiting for them to finish talking. That was the only tape that was there. There was not big collections yet, so I mean it was Ghostbusters or nothing. So Ghostbusters.
It could have been worse.
It could have been much worse, much worse. Yes.
Fair enough. Like when you started with IDW and you got to pitch your miniseries after, because you were brought on to write the two issues of Contain. I'm not saying
Infestation.
Infestation.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking
Mhm.
of, yes. What is that like, being asked to pitch a series from a movie you know as a child and are a fan of? Like,
Oh boy. Well, I mean that wasn't where I started pitching. What it was I found out that IDW had the license, and I found out that Tom, who had edited me on before that, the 18 miniseries, and uh, the Nanivore, the first miniseries that I wrote for IDW that nobody remembers. It was a toy that came and went really quick during one Christmas season. And then the Gene Simmons House of Horrors. So I found out he was editing this, and I said, Tom, I got a pitch. I really want to write a story with the Ghostbusters. It'd be great. So he said, okay, let me tell you what we've got. These 4 holiday one shots. We're covered for the year, so nothing this year. But you can pitch me something now, and I'll send it to Sony, and get it pre-approved, and we can come back and visit it later. So I came up with what wound up being used later on, the rival Ghostbusters, the Ghost Smashers, that arc later in the thing,
Okay. Yeah.
is what I pitched to them. So rival Ghostbusters, blowing up ghosts, and they congeal at the end. There are a couple of things Sony said I couldn't do. I couldn't have like Peter's mother's ghost, I think, was one of the things they said no to. No relatives. Um, and so I mean, I pitched all that stuff. I sent it off, and forgot about it for a year, and then I'd say January 2010. Tom, that's when Infestation was being put together, and Tom called me and asked me if I just wanted to do that. Yes, okay, please. And I came up with the pitch based on the stuff that they were working on with the spine of the miniseries. Got notes from Tom, got notes from Chris Ryle, who was EIC at the time, and incorporated them. I mean, Chris was like, "We need a zombie Stay Puffed." How am I going to figure that out? Doesn't matter. Figure it out, So I mean, figured out as a zombie Stay Puffed. I put it all in, and I did everything I could because I thought that was going to be it for Ghostbusters and me. I thought that was going to be my entire shot, but it got a great reaction in March of 2011 when it came out, and yeah, Tom asked if I would pitch an ongoing, uh, and I did the afternoon he asked me. I went down and I came up with a dozen or so issues worth of a pitch and sent it off, and we were off to the races a couple weeks later.
I have to know, was it your idea or was it something that Sony wanted to include the rookie character from the video game?
They let me cherry pick whatever I wanted. So if I wanted to completely ignore the video game, that was fine. I know that just from the panel that I was on at San Diego with Ivan Reitman, he's doesn't consider it part of the canon. So I could use it or I could ignore it, and it was up to me. So many fans wanted to connect it, so I mean, I left some stuff out because I mean, the events of the game, the story is just there for you to do tasks. It's a game. You want to have, the task to have the fun. So the story was just there to string that stuff together. So some of it was redundant as far as comic storytelling. So I mean, I got rid of a chunk of that, but the stuff I kept, Slimer's tank, the fact that the rookie was there and got his own franchise, which was fun later. It you know they gave me a whole lot of leeway, let me do just about anything. They told me at the beginning there were two things I could not do, and everything else they pretty much allowed. So
Awesome.
yeah.
Can you tell us what the two things
I
were?
was going to say, are you allowed
Yeah.
to say what they are?
Yeah, because I mean, because eventually they let me do both of them. Initially it was no Slimer, and I got him in issue 2. They didn't want him to be like the friendly from the real Ghostbusters. They wanted to make sure I wasn't going to do that.
Right.
And so when I didn't do that, they're like, okay, this is fine. This is like the movie. This is good. The other thing that I was not allowed to do was not allowed to use Dana and Lewis. So they didn't show up
until, of course,
So
Mass Hysteria.
yeah, they showed up in Mass Hysteria. Eventually, we got permission to do them for the anniversary. But yeah, initially starting out, they asked us not to use those two.
Did they have any particular reasons, or were you just like, yeah, that's fine, whatever?
They didn't give me a reason. Okay. I speculated that it was because they weren't in the video game. That was my speculation. That was my guess. I don't know if I'm right, but that was my
I wasn't
guess.
sure if maybe like likeness stuff too with Sigourney Weaver's
I mean,
likeness.
we didn't use the likenesses. I mean,
that's
Dan got close to some likenesses of some people that he put in every now and again, but what he drew instead for the Ghostbusters at every possible opportunity was he drew the characters, which sort of look like the actors, cartoonified and sort of not. So that's what we did, because I mean, if we would have tried to do a likeness, I mean, the book would have never come out because I mean, you got to get a hold of everybody. You got to get their permission for every single panel, and I can't imagine, Bill Murray getting a hold of him for any of the permissions. So I remember a famous story that a Star Trek artist had about drawing the back of somebody's head, and the actor said, "No, that doesn't look like me."
Wow.
So yeah.
That's fair. Dan has put in a lot of
actors,
right? Let's call them homages to certain characters. One of the we had a fan question, so we're just going to jump to this one. Was what were some of your favorite homages that he put in the stories?
Oh man, there were so many. There were so many that I can't even remember. It's I asked, out of all the Easter eggs Dan put in, I'd say I asked for maybe 15 to 20% of them tops. Okay. The rest was all Dan, which meant that a lot of them I didn't even catch until the issue came out. Some of them not even then. I was just like I've been writing some commentaries of the old comics up for fun recently, and I've only gotten back around through the first 4 issues, but I was looking through and like, I don't remember this at all. Oh my gosh, I just there was stuff that I caught that he snuck in there, and it just it cracked me up. But I did like, oh gosh, see, that's the other thing, because some of those things were things that they're like, please stop putting in the Easter eggs. So I don't want to point them out and kind of salt the wound. You know what I mean? I think my favorite was the Spirit Guide, which is one that I asked for, and they let us get away with a couple of times, and then they said don't do that anymore. It's just starting to look a little too close. So, but yeah, the Spirit Guide from the first arc was I think my favorite, and that was one I asked for. But there was another one that Dan snuck in that he had to remove, because it was dead front center in a panel in Ghostbusters 101. And it was the kids from Stranger Things, and you couldn't mistake them. They were dead on. They were right in the center of the panel watching, and they're like, you've got to take those out of there. So, I mean, it's just like, no, I mean, Dark Horse has the license. They gotta go. So he
Right.
he did remove them and stuck some friends of ours in there instead. But yeah, it was there was just so many. It was always a treat to see what Dan, when he snuck us in there, or he never wanted to put himself in there. I wrote stories specifically where I demanded that he draw himself in, and he only did it under protest. Because I liked the old Marvel when Stan and Jack popped up in the comics. I always got a kick out of that, so it was fun to sneak ourselves in there, or ask Dan to sneak us in there. But yeah, those bits were fun. I mean, I'll still find. I guarantee I'll still find stuff that I didn't even put in there when I'm going through these books. I know I will.
Oh yeah,
He was a master.
Great read it. Yeah. You always find something new when you go back and reread those books.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I love doing.
Yes.
Yeah, I found a pop star, zombified pop star in a bright red jacket in one of the panels, dead center, and I'm like, how did I miss this the first time? This is clearly a zombified pop star of no name or repute. So
that's yeah. I mean, I might have suggested the video, and he took it a little farther than I expected him to. So, but yeah, I mean, there's been stuff. I mean, famously, he wound up drawing a character to look like another actor, a character we used a lot, Ron Alexander, and he designed him in such a way that I was not expecting, but it sure made the character fun to write. Oh gosh,
that's fair.
Yeah,
I really appreciate the character of Ron and his smashettes.
Well, the idea with Ron and the fun we had with him is, what if Peter had no redeeming qualities whatsoever?
Yeah, that is what Ron.
That is exactly what Ron is. So anyway.
I think that's the scariest thing about
really
them. Even Walter Peck is like, this guy.
Yeah.
No.
Even Walter Peck we can humanize, but not Ron. No.
Yep.
Oh boy.
Well, and that brings up a great question, because in a lot of the other licensed properties that you've worked on, a lot of it is continuations from the either the movies or the TV show or the old comic books or something like that. Are you a fan of being able to continue in one way or another, continue the ongoing journey?
Well, yeah. I mean, if I can find more story to tell from that, absolutely. I mean, it just makes it makes it fun to be able to add on to something. And I mean, the way you phrased that, I had a lot of fun with Galaxy Quest for that very reason. And I think the only reason we didn't do more was that Alan Rickman had passed, and they were like, okay, this property's dead.
Oh my God.
So yeah, I just yes. So, but I'm still pitching them on a Star Trek crossover. They'll never say yes, I don't think, but
a Star Trek crossover with the Ghostbusters you're pitching?
No, with Galaxy Quest.
Galaxy Quest.
Oh,
yes.
wow.
Yeah, that'd be
Awesome.
Yeah. See, I've got just the no-brainer idea. So I've
Never
only
give
trying
up,
to get them to do
never
it.
surrender.
There it is.
That's right.
I've been trying for 7 years. I bring it up every few months. Eventually, they'll either say yes or they'll yell at me. One of the two.
Similarly, and kind of playing off of what Mr. X said there, you also, in a manner of speaking, kind of relaunched and sort of rebooted the Transformers Beast Wars recently.
Yes.
For IDW. Now, I have to admit that Beast Wars was a little bit past my time. Dragonus Prime, my brother, he grew up watching it, and I think the other guys did too, but I just never got into it. I started picking up the book when you first started putting the book out, not knowing anything about it, and have to say I've loved it. I still never watched the show, and I was able to jump in, and I love it. It's great.
Well, thank you.
Are there other properties like that rather than continuing the previous stories, you would like to one day get your hands on and do kind of a refresh, reboot, restart like you did with Beast Wars?
There are some things. If I'm looking at cartoons, One of the ones that comes to mind that I don't know if it'll ever happen because they're not doing anything with the property, which is silly because I think it might be more relevant now than it was when it came out, and that was if you guys remember the show Centurions.
Oh yeah.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
that would be fun to take and rework, because I think if anything, now the argument of how intrusive can technology be, or is it too far, would lend itself real well
Yeah.
to playing in that playground. So that would be fun. There's other stuff, but I mean, some of the other stuff I would do has already been done to death. It would have been fun to play with Masters of the Universe. That was a big one when I was real little. There would have been, gosh. Now I'm completely blanking. Like I knew I was going to do at one point, but just
That's all right.
just
That's
some
my
of the
fault, guys.
yeah, just some of the old the Saturday the action cartoon this Saturday morning. The Centurions is the first one that comes to mind. If I'm picking anything, I'd like to take a run at Indiana Jones. But conversely, if I am not allowed that, then the modern take with Uncharted would also be fun. So any of that stuff would be in my wheelhouse. There's I'm sure there's a million others that I'll think of as soon as we're done. But Centurions is definitely the number one cartoon off the top of my head.
Once you think about it, you're gonna hit Bucky O'Hare. There it was the whole time ahead of me.
Bucky,
Green Rabbit. Yeah, there it is. Done.
I'd have to get past Kevin Scott and his love in Star Wars for his own Green Rabbit, and I couldn't do that. So
it's understandable. I
yes, he's got the market cornered on Green Rabbit stories. In space. Yeah. Oh.
I mean, but come on, just the idea of Bucky O'Hare and Space Usagi.
Yes, there you go. Okay.
That is a miniseries crossover right there. Decades in the making.
It's true. Oh.
I have to ask though, what is the pitching process like? Because you pitch for one studio, but I imagine to a lot of different people. Like it's not just Tom. Yeah. It's like pitching Godzilla. I can't imagine. You don't have to go through Toho.
Yes, I do.
Oh. Okay.
Oh yeah. No. If it's a licensed property, the way it works, if it's something that I know is available, usually the editor will ask me. I haven't lucked into other than the original thing with Ghostbusters, but it's usually a situation where. Most often Tom, but sometimes one of the other editors at IDW or Dynamite or Marvel at one point will say, hey, we're looking for ideas on fill in the blank. You interested? And, if I have any ideas, I'll say, yeah. And usually I'm pitching at the same time as several other writers and several artists are auditioning as well. And they take all of these things and they present them to the licensor. And the licensor will pick the one they like best. Other times it's with Godzilla, we were doing the middle grade version that we did, the Monsters and Protectors. Tom asked me to do that specifically. I came up with a plot based on things that IDW wanted and things that Toho wanted. It was Toho. It was Chris Mowry, who's up at Toho now, who said he wanted Biollante in there. And Tom wanted Mothra. Okay. And so figure out a way to get them in, and Godzilla.
Just make it work.
And make it work, and they'll throw things that the kids. The story with that one, it had to be middle school aged kids. Were at the center of the story, so I had to figure out that dynamic as well. Plus, Godzilla could not be made fun of; he had to be serious. Toho has a bunch of rules about Godzilla, stuff that I did not know. Until it came up. Godzilla can breach from the water, but he can't land on his feet. Stuff like that. He has to belly flop. He cannot be shown to be wearing human clothes, even in a joke panel. Godzilla can't be shown to speak, even if it was like a dream sequence. So any of these things, and it all goes through Toho, and they will come back with a bunch of notes if you get it wrong.
Wow.
So. And that's pretty much everything. Every licensor The editor, it goes to the editor. The editor gives you notes. You fix them. Once the
Mhm.
editor is happy, it goes to the licensor. And if the licensor is happy, it goes to print. And if the licensor needs changes made, you make the changes.
Okay.
Awesome. All right.
Yeah.
But
I can say I haven't gotten. I mean, from all the people I've worked with, I haven't gotten any bad notes. I've gotten notes that I didn't know what to do with right away. I've gotten notes that I didn't like, but they didn't hurt anything. But most of the notes I've gotten were improvements. So it's all good.
Well, that's always helpful.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah. So moving from that back to Ghostbusters, like when you're using or creating some of the new tech or vehicles, like
Mhm.
do those have to get approved as well, or can you just be like, yeah, the Ghostbusters have an RV now and they're gonna go, cross country, and
Yeah.
they're like, yeah, that's fine, or is that
They
still in the
they
pitching process?
no they do have to approve it, and they at just Ghost Corps, they've been very good about letting us get away with a lot of stuff because I mean at the time they didn't have a movie out or a TV show out. Now they might be a little bit more picky, just because if I wanted to do something in the comic and they have it in the script stage for a movie that wouldn't be best case scenario out in 2 years, they're going to tell me no,
Right.
something like that.
Right.
But with all that stuff, they if they saw how it was used in the story, which they did because they were reading the scripts, they were usually fine with it. If they ever had anything that they didn't like or needed a change, then yeah, they'd say you can't do this specifically. We need you to do something different. And it always happened. Well, it usually happened before Dan got to draw. Dan is very fast, so sometimes they wouldn't get the notes back before Dan had already drawn the thing, and then he'd have to go back and fix it. But for the most part, things were just approved as far as the tech stuff goes. And it didn't hurt the fact that Dan comes from animation, so Dan loves to have things that are already designed. So if I wrote something into the script and he could find something to repurpose that already existed. The first arc of the series, I had written a larger trap, and he said, "Well, I'm just going to use this one from Extreme Ghostbusters because it's designed," and and so that's how that made it in there. And same with the proton grenades. He just took the design from later from Extreme Ghostbusters. So and at the time I hadn't seen Extreme Ghostbusters because I didn't have it available, and it was not. It was not easily findable on YouTube at that point, not the whole series. Now I've seen it. Now I've since seen it. But I mean, at the time, I was just like, I don't understand why the fans are asking about this thing that I thought Dan made up. Apparently he didn't. So, but yeah.
So after you saw it, is that when you decided to put Kylie in, or?
Well, yeah. The idea was, I just wanted to have somebody who was working at Raise a Cult who could do some research for them, and this I credit to Tristan Jones. He's like, it's got to be Kylie. She'd be perfect. And I look up Kylie. She would be perfect. So I wrote her in that way. But I mean, it was his suggestion to use her. I would have just made up a character, first blush, and it wouldn't have worked as well. So, but I had fun writing Kylie, and she just was complimentary to the characters in the series. She worked really well.
Oh,
the only problem with that is then everybody said, well, we want the rest of the characters now. We want the rest of the Extreme Ghostbusters. Yeah, but they don't all fit as well.
Let me work on figuring out how to do interdimensional teleportation.
Yeah.
Let's work. Oh, wait a minute. They're working on that over at Turtles.
Yeah.
Okay, so we can just do that great crossover.
Mm-hmm. It only took us a few years. Yeah.
Tom and then you have your multiverse of your Ghostbuster multiverse.
It's true.
Which, I mean, just blew my mind. Whatever. Are they doing this?
Yes.
Are we seriously doing this?
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. No, the Turtles one. Tom and I, we first met face to face 2012 at San Diego Comic-Con. It's my first time out there. The first time that we met after knowing each other for years. And he was writing Turtles. I'm writing Ghostbusters. He's editing Ghostbusters, and I'm occasionally writing Turtles. So we're like, we're playing in both of these sandboxes. We really, really should cross them over.
Yeah.
And it took a couple of years before anybody would say yes. At the time, Nickelodeon was like, I don't know if we want to cross over the Turtles with anything. I don't know if that seems like a good idea. We proved it would be a good idea, and then they went on to Batman and all the other crossovers that they did. But it just it took us a couple of years, and what we had up our sleeve, if they had just said no, you're never going to do this, that was the Get Real crossover, which we wound up doing anyway. And then that kind of led to, well, we should really find a way to do more. Especially after the Answer the Call characters, we got a hold of those because Ghost Corps asked us to. We were going to do a completely different series, just them going back to teaching, and that's why we introduced those characters. And as I'm writing this and juggling all these characters, they said, by the way, could you bring in the Answer the Call ladies and put them in the story? Oh, sure, I'll just cut out all these other characters. No, keep them. Bring these in.
Oh.
That's a lot of characters, and I've found I really don't know what it's like to write a book with just a couple of characters, because every time I write it just keeps more and more keeps getting added. I don't do it intentionally, but it winds up happening. So anyway,
were there any characters that they saw? Oh, please go ahead.
I was gonna say, so do you have like a dream crossover that you want to do?
Oh boy. There were some crossovers I wanted to do with the Ghostbusters that I pitched that were unlikely just because of the states of some of the other rights I want to do. I mean, the obvious one that everybody suggests, and yes, we did think of it, was Beetlejuice. I tried pitching. I tried pitching at one point. I thought it'd be sly when the Amazing Spider-Man movie came out in 2012. I said, what if we crossed over with just that specific version with the Andrew Garfield? Could I get away with that? No. Could I get away with it? I mean, I was like, well, you guys are doing these crossovers with DC. Could we get John Constantine? Could we get could we ring up Mike Mignola and get Hellboy in here? No. So I mean, we tried. The other one that we tried, we came real close with, but it ultimately wound up falling apart, was Doctor Who. Would have been a lot of fun.
Cool.
That would be interesting. Yeah.
It's just a matter of less the story than what the characters would do when faced with things. I mean, Ray and Egon, here's the TARDIS. Well, they don't care about anything else. They're like, well, this is interesting. I'm going to figure out how this works. Stop taking that apart. You know what I mean? It's just,
Well, and Egon would just be like, well, I don't believe in aliens.
That's right.
It's not alien.
That's right. Men in Black was the other one that came up. And we actually can't do ever because Sony owns the rights to the movies. And the movies are different than the comic books. And the comic books are owned by Marvel. So Marvel can't do the stuff that was done in the movies. And Sony can't license out the comics, so we weren't able to do, the stuff. I mean, because if we did anything with comics, it would have to go through Marvel, and be if Sony was involved, then we could maybe do something with the stuff that people were familiar with from the movies. But the comics and the movies are way different.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. So yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, though. Isn't there a board game crossover, though?
There is, and since it's not a comic book, that was able to work. They were able to pull that off, and I did do some writing for it, and they made sure to tell me that there can be images and there can be words, but there can't be, word balloons. They can't be comics in any way. So,
okay.
So yeah, that was that. I mean, it's a serious, it's a serious a bit of semantics, I guess.
No.
On the note of crossovers, do you have like a favorite that you've done already? Like, what's been your favorite to do?
Oh boy. Gosh, sentimentally, I think the first Ghostbusters and Turtles crossover was probably my favorite. But there's, they've all been fun just because I like seeing how characters react to new things. It gives you a chance to do something that's old in a new way, just because somebody there is new to react to it, and yeah, that's got to be the one off the top. It's but I if I could just get something going with some superhero stuff mixed in there, because that's I've only done a little tiny bit of that, and that's what I grew up with. So I mean, it'd be fun to sneak some of that in there.
That was going to be my next question for you, because Mr. X and Dragonus Prime and I have attempted this numerous times with various things, and I know that you did. You've done a lot of Spider-Man related stuff over the years. Are there superhero properties that you are dying to sink your teeth into?
Yeah, there are. I mean, okay. I mean, I'd like to do more Spider-Man. I'd like to do Fantastic Four, which, by the way, was another thing that we tried to get crossed over with Ghostbusters. Got told flat no.
Oh,
I'm going to tell you right now. I want you to imagine Doom and Vigo.
Oh,
That'd be
See, that's where I was going to go with it, and it was just. I would like so Spider-Man, Fantastic Four, Moon Knight's another favorite over at Marvel. Plastic Man, Superman. Just there's other stuff I could think of. I mean, now my brain is starting to just overload with possibilities. But I like the weird stuff. I like
yeah.
I mean the stuff that can get weird. I mean, Doctor Strange would probably be fun, but those ones you got to either be a big writer on a lesser selling title or a lesser writer on a bigger selling title, and I'm not I'm not to the level where I can just write a C-list character.
yeah.
But if I were to pick one from DC that I would like to try, but I could never get away with because the best writers for it already exist, would be the Justice League International. The Booster and Beetle and all.
Oh, yeah.
Just because the humor. I like to write stuff where there can be humor. So.
And you nail it.
Well, thank you.
Definitely do. You've got the peril,
Yeah.
but you're able to cut through the peril with that humor, and it makes it much more enjoyable.
Yeah, it's been tricky. Humor, comedy. It's so subjective. So I always worry when I write something funny into something, especially if it's not naturally like a funny book, Red Sonja, like that.
Mm-hmm.
I worry if they're, the fans are going to like string him up, I'm just, that kind of a thing. And but so far it's kind of worked out. So,
Wow.
with the humor. So yeah.
Well, you can't please everyone, and
especially in comics.
especially in the world of
No kidding.
well, especially in the world of entertainment in general.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it seems like on the whole, most people tend to agree with the five of us on your work, and most people seem to really enjoy it.
I thank you. Hopefully that's true.
I like to believe so. Actually, that's a perfect segue to a fan question that's literally about this. Colin writes in, how does one write in? How does he balance the intense fans with strong knowledge of a continuing lore, and also for people who might have watched a movie about the subject at some point, maybe one day down the road a bit ago?
Mm-hmm. Man, I don't know that I intentionally balance. I try to just make it make sense. I try to idiot proof it for my own self, which means, if something isn't answered, it's because I it can't be answered for the story. Otherwise I try to, I overwrite in some cases, and I need to go back and try to pare it back sometimes for the art to fit everything in. But I just try to make it so that ideally, in the best circumstances, if somebody can come in and figure out what's going on without having an extensive knowledge of everything that has ever come from the characters before. That's the goal. I don't always hit it. Nobody can always hit it. Some of these characters, the comic characters, have been around 30, 50, 70 years, so there's only so much you can do. But I try to make it as new reader friendly as possible. And even doing that, I sometimes hear that it's impenetrable. You got to read 30 issues to figure out what's going on in this one panel. Well, or you could read this two panels before, which explains it. But that's, you're not entirely wrong, I guess.
That just shows you're just skimming through.
Yeah. Well, it's some people that I've seen reviews. I've seen reviews on sites where it was clear to me, whether it's my own work or somebody else's, that the person writing the review only read the free online preview. There's 7 pages that
Mm.
yeah, because I was just like, I see the review and they're like, they didn't explain this. This didn't happen. I said, that was like on page 10. Oh, buddy, you know, you let yourself you let yourself get away right there, friend. You gave away the game. But yeah, so
No one's going to read your blog anymore on bleedingcool.com.
oof. But
Allegedly.
allegedly, yeah, no.
Allegedly.
Yeah. I just I mean, but that's the goal with all of the comic writers. At least I hope so. Is that you write it so that people can figure it out. As they come through the story. It's
Hmm.
otherwise, I mean, some readers don't like that. I admit it. It's true. But I mean, that's a reason why Tom and I like to. We were one of the few books that did this. That we did with Ghostbusters. Brought in what came before. Here's the cast list. Here's the characters. That you see in the book, and
Yeah.
here's who they are, and here's what happened before, and then go. And I mean that's kind of cheating, but it helped.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Well, I mean, Marvel's done that throughout the ages. I remember back in the late '90s that first page, hell, even the inside of the cover
Yeah.
was here's who's in this book,
Mhm.
here's what's happened, and jump.
Yeah.
Go for
I
it.
mean, it makes it a
And
lot easier to catch people up.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I personally really like it. Between the podcast and the YouTube channel and our various other film projects and things, I am notoriously the one of the five of us that I'm always like a box and a half behind in my reading, and so as such, even like with Beast Wars, when I sit down and read it, sometimes, I that first arc, I think I read issues 4, 5, and 6 months after I read 1, 2, and 3. So having that first page
Hmm.
is always kind of nice, just to kind of refresh.
Yeah.
And also to your point earlier, Eric, I think you do a great job of that, because like I said, I knew nothing about Beast Wars ahead of time, and I was able to jump in and follow it with no
Well, I
issue.
mean, I to be honest, I didn't either. I
Oh.
it was last year, just when the pandemic. I mean, it hadn't even become a pandemic yet. It was on my birthday, and I was feeling a little under the weather, so I didn't want to go do anything. And I'm flipping through the Roku, seeing what was on. I said, "Oh, Tubi, let's see what's here." Beast Wars. Okay, I've heard of this, but we didn't. I mean, when it was on, I lived in the middle of nowhere. I still do, and it just wasn't available for me to watch. So I mean, it was past my prime, but I probably would have turned it on and watched it if I had nothing better to do, just out of curiosity. And so I watched a couple of the episodes, and it surprised me. With a show aimed at young kids, just how adult some of the jokes were.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I mean, they actually got some death and mayhem in the series over it as well, so that surprised me. And that's when I pitched off to Tom, asked him if they were ever going to do anything with Beast Wars, and he said, "Funny you should mention that. We're actually going to look for pitches. Do you want to pitch something in?" So yeah, I did that, and it went around from do something exactly like the TV show um, to no, just do what you would do if you were telling the story. So I got to have a little bit more leeway. Initially, I thought I was just going to do exactly what you saw, but have a little bit more space to do it. Um, but they let me do some things, and then I mean, that's where we got changes coming in. Like, there's too many guys. We should add some, because there's a lot of ladies who are fans of
Mhm.
Transformers. Let's give them a couple of characters. So we made up some new characters.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you
Um,
about that. Nyx, was that based
yeah,
off the original Optimus Prime bat?
yeah. I thought that. I mean, I saw that initially it was a bat, and I said, well, that's cool. We should
Yeah.
bring that back. And then the other one, Scold, was just I know that there was a snapping turtle
Mhm.
Beast Wars Predacon, but I wanted to make an alligator snapper because those just look more wicked
Yeah.
with the
Yeah.
spiky
Agreed.
shells and stuff.
Oh yeah.
And I thought, just a big boxy tank of a character who was also had confidence issues, would be fun to write. And it came together real well. I pitched a lot of stuff, or a bunch of arcs to the series that were initially meant to build up, and some of those things are like, we're going to shuffle these around.
Mhm.
We're going to get rid of this one. We want you to do this first arc. It might not need to be 6 issues, but we want you to make it 6 issues. And then from there, I was able to pace things a little shorter. But the story that I had right in the pitch from Go, which would have been further down the line if we had gone to the initial plan, instead became issue 10, and that's where Scold goes off on her own. You see the background, of her growing up and how she got recruited, and it just, I mean, it was a favorite story that had nothing to do with anything that was ever on the show,
Yeah.
and and fans received it warmly. Well, many fans received it warmly. I don't want to go to the message boards on the Transformers sites to see what they thought of it, because I don't think they would have liked it very much.
You think they?
I made that mistake once, and they weren't happy with me for the changes that I made. It was either I was too close to the show, and why didn't I do something different, or I changed it too much from the show, and what was wrong with the show?
Either way, you ruined
Sometimes
their
in the
title.
same, sometimes in the same post. It was just that's
Again,
that's the danger with licensed stuff, is sometimes
Yep.
people are mad because they weren't consulted.
Yeah.
Are there any
So-
story arcs from the show that you want to adapt aside from the Dinobot death, because you don't want to kill Dinobot because he's the best?
Yeah, I the only thing that I wanted to do, I mean, we're going to be doing some things that are similar to the show, but not exactly. I've got some
Okay.
characters coming up that are going to be completely different than they were in the show, and
Cool.
I'm not entirely sure that that's going to go over very well, but we'll see.
So,
There's
yeah.
have you thought about maybe taking Transformers that don't turn into animals, but like vehicles? Like,
I've already got to write those. Thank you very much. No, I had fun. I had fun writing the G1 stuff when they crossed over with Ghostbusters. So thank you. Yeah.
oh,
And
right.
Yeah.
yeah, and
Mhm.
and that was a lot of fun. And that one was one where fans were surprised, some with shock, and some, I was just like, they didn't know what to make of it, and some were just happy that Optimus Prime got to tell a joke. And it was, I think I had to tell Peter that the Great War was kicked off when he accidentally stepped on Megatron. And really? No. And stuff like that. But I mean, I had a blast. I have a blast writing for the voice of Chris Latta. So Starscream in that was great. And then I'm getting to write like the miniseries right now that is just pure 100% Sunbow G.I. Joe. So I get to write his Cobra Commander.
Yeah, that
And
looks
I'm
cool.
having so much fun. Well, Dan is drawing that, and again, I said he came from animation, so those pages look like they were clipped from the show.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
what he does. It's amazing.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
were
I
looking
absolutely
at
loved
the
his interpretation
Mhm.
of the turtles
Mhm.
with that first crossover. I'm like, I want a tattoo of this. I want a tattoo of his Michelangelo, because holy crap, that is amazing.
Oh boy, I wasn't expecting it. The shells were so much rounder than I expected from his turtles, and it looked cool. I mean, they were but yeah, no, just bunches of. It's been, everything I've got to do has been so much fun. And I know I'm babbling about it, but I mean, it's been a joy to work on, and so I've just been, it's just pure joy, and so much of it has been stuff that I loved from my childhood. I mean, gosh, pretty much all of it, less Beast Wars, which was past me, but I mean, everything else, the Ghostbusters and Back to the Future and Turtles, it's just a whole mess. It's lucky and blessing, and all that stuff put together and wrapped up. It's been great.
So we we were just looking at the solicitations for the new GI Joe book, the Saturday Morning Adventures, which I think we're all looking forward to very much. Do you, going forward, do you have anything else that you've got coming up that you are at liberty to talk about at this time? Anything that has you very excited and super jazzed?
Whew. Well, I did just get asked to do a crossover, not at IDW. That would be a lot of fun to do. I'm trying. I'm not saying it mostly because I'm not 100% sure I'll be able to work it into my schedule, and it's bumming me out. But Knockwood,
Mm.
it's another snarky character from an '80s movie. That would be a hoot for me to write, and is right up in my wheelhouse. Then I've got what else? What else do I got coming up? What else can I think of? Can't talk about that. I'd get yelled at. Can't talk about that. I'd get yelled at. I've got a couple other projects
Well,
that
we
that
can
are
turn the
in various
recording off
stages.
if you
That
want to.
no. They would know.
I was
They
going to
would
say
know.
they're listening everywhere.
Yes,
Yeah, they're
exactly.
always listening.
They've all got their ninjas. But no, I've got the first thing I did, the independent anthology, Shooting Star Comics, back in 2002. The 20th anniversary is coming up, so a bunch of us have decided to just do a short little anniversary anthology. So I'm doing a
fun.
story. I'm doing a story for that, and we'll do like a small run for ourselves. Maybe we'll do a tiny, like a miniature Kickstarter, for any of the like 50 people who might remember us. And I just the last couple of years I've been doing comic strips on a Patreon, and I turned that into a collection. So I'm just going to throw that up for I don't have the bandwidth to do a Kickstarter right now, so I'm just going to throw it up onto Amazon if it looks good. I've got proofs coming, and if they look all right, I'll leave it and let Bezos take 2/3 of it for taking care of the printing and the shipping and the fulfillment, all that stuff, and I'll just take my couple of bucks. But
He does need the money. That's fair.
if yes, he does. He so does. I mean,
Oh,
those
yeah.
rocket jaunts aren't cheap.
That's right.
And but yeah, no, I mean that's hopefully that'll go. It's I got my friend well, he's Doc Shaner. He gave me a nice pull quote for the back of the book. It was no, because he hates puns, and that is exactly what's on the back of the book. No, Evan Doc Shaner, artist. Thank you, buddy. It's he was joking with me. I said, I'm going to use this. I'm going to use this now. You say this. He goes, do it with my blessing, because he didn't think I would do it. It's on the back of the book. That shows him. He can't just give me permission. But yeah, that's just. I mean, it's a book full of terrible puns and some referential jokes. I've taken out most of the stuff that that could get me in trouble. I'm on the fence about one joke about whether or not I can do it. And I think I should be fine, but the joke is he's Han Solo. Well, Han Solo looking character. He's tied up to a post. He goes, he goes, you think I'm scared? And he turns around. You see stormtrooper-ish looking character. He goes, you guys couldn't hit the sky. And you see one, up by him, his back turned to the reader. He goes, what are you doing? He sees there's a little stand next to him now with an apple. Everybody aim for the apple. And so I mean, there's that joke, and we'll see if it goes. But I mean,
That's a good joke.
yeah, hopefully, yeah. I worry if the stormtroopers look too much. It's a parody. It should be protected, but you just never know. So I'm on the fence. Maybe I'll alter that one panel so that it doesn't show them at all, and just seeing the back of the white armor. I do have one other Star Wars joke in there, but I have it. I changed it so that they have like lanyards, and they're at a Comic-Con, so that I can get away with it. And it's Darth Vader, and he's pointing to Murdoch, BA, and Hannibal, and he says, "I find your lack of face disturbing." So
that's good.
see, terrible.
That's
They're
good.
terrible puns, but I'm hoping the right audience will find it.
Well, I'll
And I'm listening. I can hear James Earl Jones say that in my head right now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'll make sure to book myself a copy.
Yes, please. Nice, good pun. Yes. Oh, there's worse in there. I promise you. I came up with a character to react to the puns. He's just very upset every time they come up, and that's a good blast. It's how weird is this? I mean, it's the weirdest stuff that I couldn't get into books that they pay me to write. It's the Grim Reaper, but he's been laid off. And it's,
Bummer.
just, I mean, I just say, what could be worse than you? Why would they hire somebody else as Death? You're the Grim Reaper. What could be worse than you? A podcast host. And,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. So
You're not wrong.
no. You've heard some of the YouTube podcasts about various things. They can get pretty scary.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh boy, yeah. No, I was speaking to myself. A friend of mine and I last year started a podcast that it comes out just like, well, I can edit an episode every 6 months. Used to be weekly, but now the last one we recorded it in June, and I just put it up. So I mean, it's just like I feel like like this is not good. I'm glad I'm not getting paid for this. I'm blowing deadlines like crazy, but. Anyway, I appreciate you indulging me with the talk of the terrible puns of the book that isn't really coming out. So yeah,
No.
but yeah.
I absolutely look forward to the book coming out.
All right.
I guess we'll say the name of the book. Do you want to say the name? I know.
Oh yeah, sorry. I didn't think the book is called it's called Downside.
Mm-hmm.
And the first thing that people think of is, oh, so you're riffing on the Far Side. No. I mean, I'll take the comparison, but no, I'm riffing on Mel Brooks. Because if you remember Spaceballs, there's two sides to every Schwartz. You got the upside.
Oh,
I got the downside. Yes. So yeah.
Yes.
Oh, that's wonderful.
That's where I lifted that from. And now Mel Brooks and the previous mention of the A-Team. I want to tell this anecdote because it's so surreal. I was in Chicago in 2010, first C2E2, and IDW had just become a premier publisher, so they were going to have a little party at Challengers.
Nice.
I was riding in the back of a taxi with Chris Ryle, the person, not the back of a taxi, back of a car, a woman from the comic shop. And she was a tiny reed of a woman who had only had to eat that day at the convention 3 24-ounce cans of Monster.
Oh.
She was
wow.
whipping through traffic, missing cars by inches. Ryle leans over to me and says, "We're going to die." We get to the comic shop, and it's just like we get out, and it's all we can do to just not kiss the ground. That's when we found out. She goes, "I haven't. The pizza place over there smells so good. I haven't eaten all day. All I've had is Monster." Oh God! And we get to the party, and so we go to the pizza place, and one of the other people at the dinner. I was trying. He looked familiar, but I couldn't place him. He found out I was writing A-Team, so he started doing a BA impression that was entertaining. And then I placed the face the face to a name, and it was Max Brooks. So this is how the anecdote circles all around.
Oh wow!
Yeah, see, that's how memory works. Okay, so the train of thought: A-Team, Mel Brooks. Oh wait, that's right. I have this story. So, but
Wow.
it was
That's
It's just,
great story.
it was
though. That is
I mean,
awesome.
it really hinges on the fact that we almost died. Oh gosh, it was. I mean, 6 o'clock in Chicago. If you've been in the traffic in that area, imagine whipping through that too fast.
That's gnarly. Yeah.
It was. I would have rather been in a cab. That's how bad.
Yeah.
Oh, but
Yeah.
no, it was a fun time.
So this one's kind of something that we answered, but it doesn't have to be a Ghostbusters. IDW has loads of great IPs and storied history of crossovers. What's the perfect crossover? That's from Shelby.
Oh boy, perfect crossover. I mean, I think we already did the perfect crossovers. So I mean, the most well, no, I mean the 80s stuff that kids are
Mhm.
the kids at the time playing with the toys in their room. I think we pulled that off. So I mean, it's tough to think of what else might be done. But gosh, Be fun. It'd be fun to see some more stuff with Back to the Future. It'd be fun to see some more stuff with. Oh gosh, I think the one that would be absolutely impossible. I know that IDW did have the license for the space of a graphic novel, but if you will, give me Ghostbusters and Haunted Mansion.
Oh,
Oh, fun.
Okay.
Yeah. So I mean,
right.
Dan would being the huge Disney fan that he is, well, that we both are. Dan would bend over backwards to draw that one. I mean, he wouldn't even need the Ghostbusters. He'd be happy with the mansion itself.
which forgotten shows would you be most excited to revisit or reference?
Okay. Well, we did go with it. We did go with Centurions. Let me see what else I could come up with that would be fun and weird. How about Rick Moranis and Gravedale High?
Oh, wow.
There you go.
See, there's one. There's something
Yeah.
that few would remember. Let's see. It would be fun. A lot of stuff from the '80s would be fun to play around with. Stuff that was just super weird. The Mr. T show. Traveling with the gymnast. Spider-Man and his amazing friends. If I got up a little too early on Saturday morning and it was before any of the fun shows, then perhaps Kissy Fur or the Snorks.
I almost brought up the Snorks. Yeah,
See,
okay.
the Snorks, yes. But yeah, no.
How about a Snorks versus Smurfs?
There you go. Yes.
Why you gotta bring me into this? Leave me out of this.
Beat the payo out of them, and but just or as Gargamel suddenly was like, I'll go with sushi. But that's terrible. But the cat would be happy. Azrael would love it. It's win-win for the cat.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, there's there's one specifically that I was trying to remember, and it's not coming. Tiger sharks, huh? How about that?
Oh, wow.
yeah.
That'd be a fun one.
Yeah, see,
right.
yeah, I would have to figure out why some of them became, well, fish, and some of them became just mammals. Also mammals. That offers that you still have to breathe air. That does nothing. But okay, man, if you're going to turn into a walrus or a dolphin, cool, I guess. Sure.
But it's your body and your choice.
That's
and that's what makes it topical
I mean,
for a modern audience.
yeah, I mean, if they would have at least made the guy who was named Dolph not become a dolphin, I could have at least got behind that, I suppose. But yeah, no, there was an embarrassment of weird riches in the '80s, and I mean, the longer I sit here, the more I'm thinking of weird stuff that nobody remembers. Jason the Wheeled Warriors, or
You could do
they tried.
You could
They
do a
tried
shared
Masteron.
universe of
Yeah.
biker mice from Mars and tiger sharks and
They did try that.
cowboys
that
of Moo Mesa.
Oh my god, Brave Star.
Oh,
Star.
yeah.
Brave Star would be good. Yeah.
Brave Star.
Yeah, so I mean that would have been a fun one to play with, but it just that was the last Filmation series too. I mean it beat Ghostbusters to killing the company. But no, I just there were so many that were fun, and see, the thing is, thanks to nostalgia being what it is, most of them have already been comics. I mean, I remember seeing for a good chunk of time. There was Gem was out there, and we did stuff with the real Ghostbusters, and yeah.
Gem and the Real Ghostbusters, yeah.
Gem and the Real Ghostbusters. There we go. He-Man was He-Man is always in and out of comics. So I mean, there's all the stuff of the '80s. I think at this point has been done, and I mean that is going to the dead properties are almost impossible to get anybody to say yes to, and some of them you don't know where the rights are. That was a problem that was had years back. We wanted to do Monster Squad, and nobody could figure out who has the full rights to say yes as far as a comic goes. So yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I think Mr. X would find out
I'm sorry,
for
I'm
you and just
geeking
send
out.
you that
I'm
email
geeking.
real quick. Like, here it is. I've contacted them already. Please, they said yes.
Oh.
I mean,
I'll get our legal team on it. We will
somewhere
find
I've
out
got
where.
somewhere I've got Dan did sketches. So I mean,
cool.
somewhere on my hard drive or in my email, I've got Monster Squad sketches from Dan from back in 2012. But yeah, no, it never and many people are looking for him, and sometimes it's a weird situation where like 5 different people have the rights and you don't know who has the relevant rights, and so
Yeah.
do they all need to say yes, or just this guy here, or these three, or so it can be a thing.
Okay.
Mhm.
Andre wants to know, how ahead of its time was Extreme Ghostbusters?
Boy, it was pretty ahead of its time. It got scarier. The ones that I remember watching when I finally got around to it, than even some of the real Ghostbusters got. They got to go a little bit more mature with some of their stuff. I mean, everybody was okay at the end, but I mean, they got some downright, wait, what is that going on here kind of stuff. I mean, they got some disturbing ghost descriptions, which I think fit more in line with the earlier real Ghostbusters in the movie than I expected them to go. So it was ahead of its time. It was a cast that was diverse without feeling like it was checking the boxes. The only one that might have gone with that was Garrett, but he still he still managed to not fit into a full on stereotype, which made him work.
He kept rolling
Yeah.
with it, man.
He kept rolling with it. That's right.
The one that I always go back to for that is the R.L. Stein or Stephen King episode where his creations come to life and they keep like ripping apart people and turning
Oh.
them into creatures. And like
Mhm.
one that always like terrified me, and it even unnerves me today, is like some guy who's got his head like buckled together in like 3 spots. Otherwise, there's nothing there. I was like, oh, that's good. Ugh, no,
Yeah.
thank you. No,
Oh.
thank you, sir.
Nightmare fuel.
Yeah.
It's yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, kids get down with some scarier stuff. It's the some of the most dear God why things that Frank Baum wrote into the Oz series were suggestions from children.
I
It's
did
just
not
like,
know that. Oh my god.
here is some terrifying thing. This is our idea. Sends it off. Huh. Well, I guess I'll write that in.
Oh. Oh.
These kids really want to see a patchwork girl? Do they know how
Oh,
terrifying that's going to look?
oh Lord, yeah, no, it's just
Fine.
I mean, it was a super violent stuff, and it was kids. There was a lot of kids stuff. I mean, that's what they wanted. They want the violence in the 1900s,
Who
the
doesn't?
early aughts. That's what sells books,
And they still do.
and they still do.
Their thirst for blood is insatiable.
Mhm. I mean, it's blood and PB&J, chocolate milk.
Yeah.
Right.
The
Hot
standard elementary lunch.
Right.
Yep.
Mike SC
Okay.
wants to know what was off limits to storytelling once they decided to go ahead with Afterlife. Is that too?
You know what? I know that there was some stuff that they told me that I could not do, and now I can't remember specifically what it is. When I was writing the Year One series, I got a heads up to some of the stuff that was happening in the movie. I didn't get to read a script or anything. It was just a general idea, so I would avoid X and maybe lean into Y. I can't remember what it was specifically because it's been a couple of years since I've written it now. But there was something that I wrote in that they said, no, you can't do this one. It's close to what we're doing in the movie, and now, even though I know what happened, I cannot for the life of me remember what it was that I had to cut out because it was cut out and discarded and forgotten. So, I mean, I don't remember what it was that was similar. I wish I did. I wish I remembered what specific thing that I came up accidentally with that they were going to do, but yeah, it's a less satisfying answer, but I don't remember really is.
Let's
really
say
is what it is.
You were going to put J.K. Simmons somewhere in the comic, and
That's
Yeah,
That
there
was
you,
it.
yeah.
just leave Jonah out of it.
Yeah.
But
if there was ever
but yeah,
I want
casting,
pictures.
that's it.
I want pictures of them Ghostbusters.
that's it. That's what we want. We want pictures of the Ghostbusters. No, I don't know. Boy, I'm racking my brain trying to remember and figure it out, and I got nothing.
That's
Based
fair.
on what I've seen in the movie, I can't even think about what it might have been. It's entirely possible that it was something that they told me not to do that they wound up not doing either. which would mean that I would have no context from the movie
Right.
as to what
Yeah,
it was that
right.
that I had not done. So yeah.
Instead of watching the movie and go like, oh,
Yeah.
Oh, that's it.
why I couldn't do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, it could have been so much, because I mean, if you're working the idea right, then natural things will occur to everybody who are approaching, So
Yeah.
Okay.
anyway,
It's got to be amazing being able to go to all those cons, and just as a guest,
yeah, it's fun. It's been so. The last one I went to was in 2019 now, so I'm starting to feel
Yeah.
a little itchy.
why has something happened?
No, just nothing really, nothing to speak of.
Just took a break.
But
Just you're taking a personal break from them for a minute.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they came back a few months ago, and I just, I had nothing that I'm not ready to travel yet. Hopefully, I'm supposed to do one in the spring in Scotland, so hopefully I'll be able to still do that because I would really like to go to Scotland.
And what a comeback it would be if it was in Scotland.
It's exactly, yes. I will not try the haggis, but I will try the Scotch.
There you go.
That's right.
Absolutely.
Good advice.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. All right.
I'm sure you could throw some hot sauce on the haggis and you would be just fine.
Oh yeah, no.
Oh, no.
It's no. That's the bridge too far.
Yeah. That's the downside.
That's the
downside.
Oh my goodness. See, now I mentioned a bridge too far, and I think of PCU. Anyhow, sorry. That's a whole other.
That's actually our next podcast. Are you on that one too?
Yeah, right.
That's the one. Let's talk gutter.
Jeremy Piven here.
That's
right.
Now. The pinnacle of Jon Favreau's career, right there.
Yep. He never did anything else.
Nope,
after
that was
absolutely not. That was the one. That was it.
It was because of those dreads. It was the dreads that held him back.
It's true. It's
Oh.
He's just touring with George Clinton. It's fine.
That's right. All right. Well, I think it's time to get the funk out of here.
There we go.
Nicely
done.
There it is.
And that's how we segue into a great wrap up. I want to thank you very much.
Yes.
This has been a hell of an afternoon. I cannot wait for our listeners. If you're not listening to the podcast version, if you're watching it, I hope you had as much fun watching our reactions to these great stories. If you're watching the YouTube version, go listen to the podcast version because it'll be a little bit different. There may be some stuff that you're not seeing here that you'll hear there. This is how we get people to do both. It's exactly the same.
There you go.
But they don't know that.
Yeah.
So thank you again, and you please have the invitation to come back anytime you want to
Awesome.
pimp any of your upcoming projects when you can actually talk about
Well,
them.
I might just do that. Some of these are would be fun to talk about. If they actually happen. Guys, thank you so much for humoring me.
Open door, yes.
I appreciate it. Yes. Yeah.
Yes. That was a fantastic time, gents. That was a wonderful way to spend an afternoon.
I can't stop
I
smiling.
love bad puns.
Yeah. I have to say, after that, I am now very jazzed about the idea of doing a drawing of Dr. Doom and Vigo together. Maybe I'll do that and put it up on our Patreon because I'm super excited about that. That would have been cool.
Yeah, that was a heck of a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It was entertaining and informative. That's why our podcast, both video and audio, is edutainment.
Is that a new term you're coining?
Is that a
right
word?
now?
No, it's not. It already
Oh,
exists. But I'm stealing it now.
Take credit.
Yeah, just
No. Because I don't want to get sued
Yeah.
if it is copyrighted by somebody else. So no credit taken.
or entercation. We can take that.
No,
We can put it down too.
That's stupid.
Well, listeners, we hope that you have enjoyed this episode as much as we have. We hope that you have enjoyed the time listening to Erik's stories. And any of you out there who, for whatever reason, have not checked out any of the books that we mentioned during that interview, we hope that this piqued your interest enough to run out and at least pick up trades and check out Erik's work. I think all 5 of us can tell you will not be disappointed, because his stuff is really, really, really good. So, but that's it, guys. This has been a wonderful episode. So until next time, thanks for hanging with us. I'm Dr. Impact.
I'm still Catatonic Smurfy.
Busted Dragon is Prime.
Head of the EPA, Mr. X.
And Pixel Danger. And we'll catch you in the funny pages. What he means is you and everyone you know should subscribe, rate, and review our podcast on every app possible.